Hey everyone, I'm Sara, 18, a college freshman with big dreams, and I just got back from an incredible 2-week trip across Europe with my best friend. My head was still buzzing with memories of the Eiffel Tower at sunset, gelato in Rome, and every little adventure we'd had. I couldn't wait to tell my mom everything. But the second I stepped through the front door, my vacation bliss shattered. Hey honey, welcome back. Mom called from the kitchen. Come on in, there's someone I want you to meet. Rick. Rick? Who the heck is Rick? Dragging my suitcase into the living room, I stopped dead. There, sprawled across the couch like he'd been living there for ages, was some guy I'd never seen before. Hey there, kiddo, he greeted me with a smirk that made my skin crawl. I'm Rick. Your mom's told me so much about you. I forced a tight smile. That's funny, 'cause she hasn't mentioned you at all. Mom walked in, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Sara, don't be rude. Rick's my new boyfriend. He's moved in while you were away. My jaw dropped. Moved in? Mom, are you serious? Watch your language, young lady, she chided, looking flustered. Rick leaned back with an unearned sense of authority. No need to be upset, kiddo. I make a mean lasagna. He winked, and I felt like I entered some kind of Twilight Zone episode. I turned to my mom. Can we talk? Alone? In the kitchen, I let my frustration spill out. Mom, are you serious? You let some guy move in while I was gone for 2 weeks. She crossed her arms defensively. He's not some guy, Sara. We've been dating for a month. A month? Mom, that's barely enough time to know someone isn't a complete stranger. Her eyes hardened. Don't take that tone with me. Rick's a good man, and he's bringing stability into our lives. Our lives were stable. I shot back, exasperated. The next few days were a nightmare. Rick acted like he ran the place, while Mom just went along with it. Then came the bombshell one evening over dinner. Sara, Rick started, we've decided that it's best if you have a curfew now. Home by 10 on weekdays, 11 on weekends. I nearly choked. Excuse me? I'm 18 in college and I have a job. He leaned back, completely unfazed. Our house, our rules, kiddo. It's not your house, I shot back, seething. And I'm not your kid. Mom looked hurt. Sara, please. We're just trying to look out for you. By treating me like a child? I asked, incredulous. I've never given you a reason not to trust me. Why start now? Tension filled every corner of the house. Everywhere I turned, Rick was there, watching, judging. I felt like a stranger in my own home. Desperate, I retreated to my room, my only sanctuary, and called my best friend Zoe. Girl, you're not going to believe this, I sighed, flopping onto my bed. Her face filled the screen, concern etched across it. That bad, huh? What now? I rolled my eyes. He tried to check my phone yesterday, said he was concerned about my online safety. No way. What did you do? I snatched it back and told him to mind his own business. Mom just stood there, not saying a word. Zoe's brow furrowed. Sara, this isn't right. Have you tried talking to your mom alone? I've tried. It's like she's under his spell or something. I muttered to Zoe, exasperation bleeding into my voice. Before she could respond, my phone pinged. I glanced at the screen and rolled my eyes. Speak of the devil, Rick's asking where I am. I'm literally in my own room. Girl, you need backup, Zoe said, her brows knitted in concern. Talk to Marcus at work, he might have some ideas. The next day at the bookstore where I worked part-time, I pulled Marcus aside during our break. I spilled the entire story, and his eyes widened as he listened. Whoa, slow down, he said, absorbing my frustration. This Rick guy sounds like bad news. Tell me about it. It's like he's trying to take over our lives, and Mom just lets him. Marcus leaned closer, lowering his voice. Look, my cousin's a cop. Maybe he could run a background check on this dude. I hesitated, frowning. Isn't that illegal? He shook his head. Not if we're legitimately concerned. Just think about it. That night, I was heading to the kitchen for a late snack when I heard Ray's voices. I froze, straining to hear. Come on, Diane, Rick was saying. If the house is in my name, we can refinance. Get a better rate. Mom's voice was hesitant. I don't know, Rick. It's a big step. He sighed, frustrated. Don't you trust me? After everything I've done for you and Sara. My fists clenched. Done for us? He'd done nothing but disrupt our lives. Of course I trust you, Mom replied quickly, sounding almost afraid. I just need time to think about it. Well, don't take too long. This opportunity won't last forever. I slipped back to my room, my mind racing. Why was he so desperate to get his name on the house? The next few days, strange things kept happening. Mom's favorite necklace, the one Grandma had given her, was missing. Dad's old watch, which Mom kept safely tucked in her dresser, had vanished too. One morning, I asked as casually as I could, "Hey Mom, have you seen Grandma's necklace lately? I wanted to borrow it." She frowned. "You know, I can't find it. I must have misplaced it." Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Rick shift uncomfortably. Later that week, I overheard him on the phone in the backyard. Yeah, I'm working on it," he muttered. "The old lady's almost ready to sign over the house. Then we can. No, the kid's not a problem. I've got it under control." My blood ran cold. Old lady? Kid? Was he talking about us? That night, I tossed and turned, his words echoing in my mind. Finally, I made up my mind. I grabbed my phone and texted Marcus. "You still have that cop cousin. I think we need to do that background check." Marcus replied instantly, "I'm on it. We'll figure this out, Sara. Hang in there." Just as I set my phone down, I heard footsteps in the hall. Rick's voice drifted through the door. "I'm telling you, it's foolproof. Once the house is in my name, we're set. Just keep the kid in line for a little longer." My heart pounded. Whatever Rick was up to, I had to stop him for my mom's sake and mine. This was war, and I was ready to fight. The next day at work, Marcus pulled me aside, his face tense. "Sara, you're not going to believe this," he whispered. "My cousin got back to me about Rick. It's worse than we thought." My stomach twisted. "How bad?" Marcus glanced around, then lowered his voice. "He's got a record. Multiple fraud charges, all targeting single moms. And get this, he's not even employed." "What?" I hissed. "But he's always talking about his big business deals." "It's all lies, Sara. He's a con artist." I leaned against the bookshelf, trying to process this. "I need proof, Marcus. Something concrete to show my mom." "Already on it. My cousin's sending over some files. We'll get this guy, Sara." Over the next few days, I went full Nancy Drew. I snapped pictures of every empty spot where valuables used to be. I even managed to record some of Rick's shady phone calls. "Yeah, the house is almost mine," he said one evening, his voice dripping with smugness. "The old bag's about ready to sign it over. Then we can flip it and move on to the next mark." My blood boiled. This had to end. That night, I cornered Mom in the kitchen. "Mom, we need to talk. It's about Rick." She sighed, putting down her coffee mug. "Sara, not this again." "No, Mom, you need to listen," I insisted, pulling out my phone. "Rick isn't who he says he is. He's a fraud, and he's trying to steal from us." Mom's face hardened. "That's enough. I won't listen to these lies." "They're not lies." I pulled up the photos and played the recordings. "Look, Mom, all this stuff is missing. And listen to what he says about you, about the house." For a moment, doubt flickered in her eyes. Then Rick walked in, his expression smooth and unbothered. "What's going on here?" he asked in that sickly sweet voice. "Your little game is up, Rick," I spat. "I know all about your fraud charges, how you target single moms. You're nothing but a liar and a thief." Rick's face darkened. "You ungrateful little brat. After everything I've done for this family." "Done for us?" I shot back, unable to contain my anger. "You mean stealing from us, trying to take our house." Rick turned to Mom, softening his voice. "Diane, you don't believe these ridiculous accusations, do you? Your daughter is clearly jealous, trying to sabotage our happiness." I couldn't believe it when Mom started nodding. "Sara, how could you?" she whispered, her disappointment cutting deeper than I'd expected. Rick's smirk was insufferable. "That's right, Diane. I've been nothing but kind to you both." "Kind?" I shot back. "Mom, he's manipulating you. Can't you see that?" Rick took a step forward, towering over me, his eyes cold. "I think it's time you showed some respect, young lady. This is my house now, and if you can't follow the rules, maybe you should find somewhere else to live." I crossed my arms, refusing to back down. "Your house. Last I checked, your name isn't on any documents." He sneered. "Not yet. But it will be soon enough. And then we'll see who's in charge around here. Over my dead body, I growled. Both of you, stop it. Mom's voice cracked, and she looked at me with pleading eyes. Sara, go to your room. We'll discuss this in the morning when everyone's calmed down. But Mom. Now, Sara. I stormed off, my mind whirling with a plan. As I slammed my bedroom door, I heard Rick's muffled voice through the walls. Don't worry, honey. I'll handle her soon. It'll be just you and me, like we planned. I clenched my fists. Rick thought he'd won, but he had no idea who he was up against. I had the truth on my side, and I wasn't about to let him tear my family apart. Tomorrow I'd put my plan into action. Rick's days of scamming were numbered, and I would be the one to bring him down. The next morning, I put on my best fake smile. Sorry for doubting you, Rick. You were right, I was just being jealous. His smug grin made my skin crawl, but I played along. That's my girl, he said, patting my shoulder. See, Diane? I told you she'd come around. For the next week, I played the perfect stepdaughter. Going to the library, Rick, I'll be back by curfew, I call out while secretly meeting Marcus to gather more evidence. We've got statements from 3 of his past victims. Marcus whispered one afternoon. The cops are building a solid case. I nodded, feeling a fire in my chest. Perfect, it's almost time. On Friday, I put the final phase into action. Hey Rick, I'm heading to Zoe's for the weekend, I said, grabbing my bag. See you Sunday. As soon as I was out of sight, I doubled back and called my Aunt Sara. It's time. Are you ready? An hour later, Aunt Sara and I walked through the front door. Mom looked up, her face a mix of confusion and surprise. Sara, what's going on? Rick's expression darkened. I thought you were at your friend's. Change of plans, I replied coolly. We need to talk. What followed was the most intense hour of my life. Aunt Sara and I laid out every piece of evidence, the fraud charges, the stolen valuables, the manipulative behavior. At first, Mom tried to defend him, but as the truth piled up, I saw the doubt grow in her eyes. How could you? She whispered, turning to Rick. Her voice was barely audible, like she had the wind knocked out of her. Rick's charm vanished, replaced by desperation. Baby, they're lying. You know me. A sharp knock at the door cut him off. 2 police officers stepped inside, a warrant in hand. Richard Thompson, you're under arrest for multiple counts of fraud and theft. As they cuffed him, his mask finally slipped. You little. He snarled at me. You'll regret this. I met his glare with steely determination. The only thing I regret is not exposing you sooner. After Rick was gone, Mom collapsed into Aunt Sara's arms, sobbing. I'm so sorry, Sara. I should have listened to you. I hugged them both, feeling a weight lift off my chest. It's okay, Mom. He fooled a lot of people. But he's gone now, and we're going to be okay. The next few weeks were tough, but we got through them together. We changed the locks, reclaimed our space, and slowly began to rebuild our trust. I focused on my studies, determined to put the whole nightmare behind me. One evening, as I sat on our porch watching the sunset, Mom joined me. She wrapped an arm around my shoulder and said softly, You know, Sara, you're the strongest person I know. I'm so proud of you. I smiled, feeling a newfound confidence. Thanks, Mom. We're both stronger than we thought. And that's the end of my wild story. Now I've got a question for you. How far would you go to protect your family from someone manipulative? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life tales.